On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
I always believe no matter what the business is, you should not only be passionate about it, but you should also eat your own dog food, so to speak.
That's right.
And no disrespect to my dogs. But we do a lot of printing every single day. We don't provide the services ourselves. That's where our customers make their money. We just make sure that their equipment works for them day in and day out.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in. What's up, everybody? I'm Chaz Wolfe. I'm your host, Gathering the Kings podcast. Today, we've got Paul Barron on the King stage. Paul, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Chaz. Nice to be here with you and your audience.
I appreciate you being here. We were just talking. You're in Wilmington, North Carolina. I'm in Kansas City. You've got customers where I'm at. I've got friends where you're at. It's like we know each other already.
It's like we went to different high schools together.
Yeah, exactly. Different and together. You know, Paul, I'm excited to have your long history of business here, telling us all the cool things that you've done here today. What business are you in now?
Well, now that you've just aged me, yes, I am 70 years old. So I've been around the turnpike, so to speak, for a good number of years, several dozen businesses that I've either founded, helped scale, grow, and manage myself. Currently, I have a business called The Wall Printer. We manufacture and distribute wall and floor printing machines, which are like your desktop printer on steroids. And they're designed to print digital artwork onto any wall, indoors, outdoors, any substrate, any surface at all, wallboard, metal, wood, glass, tile, whatever. And what we do is we put people in businesses locally in their areas throughout North and South America who want to deliver wall art to residences, businesses, restaurants, schools, hospitals, event spaces, whatever, and they create their business locally. We're not a franchise system at all, but we do provide exclusive territories because it is relatively new technology that delivers wall art. If this is going to be video to your audience, that's a wall printing behind me in my office on cinder block, which is done with one of our machines. So that's 5 feet by 8 feet. There's no limit to the size of an image that can be printed with the machines. So it's a really cool machine that I discovered several years ago, and decided to invest in the factory and the inks that are required to run and manage these machines day in and day out. Wow. And that's what we're doing.
Wow, a lot to take in there. I think it's incredible, especially with you having a great example right behind you. It looks like you're sitting right there and you got the mountains and the water right behind you. That's pretty incredible.
Well, I always believe no matter what the business is, you should not only be passionate about it, but you should also eat your own dog food, so to speak.
That's right.
And no disrespect to my dogs. But we do a lot of printing every single day. We don't provide the services ourselves. That's where our customers make their money. We just make sure that their equipment works for them day in and day out. That's our business.
I love it. Okay, very good. Well, my first question is always the same. After all these years, as you said, dozens of businesses, a couple of exits and foundings and scalings and all this business terminology. Why are you still doing it? What's the driving factor here?
You sound like my wife. The last time that I retired, of several times that I have, I've been fortunate over the years. Most of the time I was working as a hired gun for companies, meaning that I was a commission salesperson or business development executive, helping companies find their customers, high value relationships, vendors, strategic partners, helping those customers either get sales or scale their businesses and position themselves for strategic partnerships or exits. And I fell into something quite a while ago, decades ago, with foreign companies, helping them find their American audiences. And so I developed a decent reputation in doing that. And I've represented a Russian company marketing their audio and video and navigation system technologies here to the U.S. Equipment manufacturers, a baby bottle manufacturer from Austria, a self-service dog wash system from Australia, a Chinese headband headphone company, and all of these products that were kind of cool and innovative. But again, as I mentioned, it was as a hired gun, commission salesperson. I did very well. Several times I would see a product and I would say, that's really cool. I wish I owned it. I didn't just represent it. And so I'm always on the lookout for things. And I have had my own businesses, everything from restaurants to sporting goods stores to consumer packaged good companies and other ventures. But I always like to have equity stake in something. And so, as I mentioned, about 3-4 years ago, I kind of hung up my shingle, decided to play tennis and swim, which are my two sports, and just do that on a regular basis. But then I'm always searching and I'm always looking at things, as we all are actually, going online with the benefits of Google searches and everything else that comes into our inboxes. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I was actually approached again by a foreign company, a German company, who had a vertical printing machine, which is the generic name for this industry I'm in now. And they asked me to represent them in the United States and help them scale. And I never saw anything like the product before, which I also find unusual because I fancy myself to be a pretty run-of-the-mill consumer, that most things, I've seen before or have somehow crossed my desk. And this is something I'd never seen, a vertical printing machine, something that prints like an inkjet printer, artwork onto walls. And so I was intrigued by it, could not make the deal with them because they wanted me to be a commission salesperson. And I was now past all that. And so I said no. If there was no opportunity to buy into the company, I had no interest. But when I hung up the phone after Zoom, Skype calls with them, trying to work out a deal, I said to my wife, hey, come take a look at this. Now, normally when I say to Maureen, my wife, come take a look at this from my home office, rather than come and see what I'm looking at, she cuts up my credit cards and hides the bank account. Because she says, here we go again. Paul's going to invest in something crazy. But this time she took a look and she said, wow, that's really cool. Never seen anything like it. And so I started pursuing it and trying to do my due diligence. Same thing we encourage our customers today to do, to find out more about this, because most people have never seen this. And because the technology is not new, it was invented about 12, 13 years ago in Southeast Asia by a Chinese company. Actually, the company that I bought into now, because I found out that there were only a handful of these companies worldwide that did these types of machines. There was the German company that approached me originally that has a very nice, high quality product. And no disrespect to anybody in your audience or yourself who might have German heritage. I drive a BMW. I cook with Henkel knives. I value a well-engineered product. But just because something says made in Germany or made in Switzerland doesn't necessarily mean it should cost twice as much as something of comparable value. And in this case, it turned out that the German product that had approached me originally did not have the features that the Chinese company that invented the technology provided in its solution. And then there was an Indian company that had a nice home hobby solution, but it wasn't a commercial quality product for day in and day out use that somebody could use to make a business out of it. There was an Australian company that was a venture-backed company that really had no product. They were in the prototype stage. And then there was another Chinese company. The Chinese don't only copy us, they copy themselves when they see something valuable or something that people want. And so there was a laser engraving company that copied the company that I represent now. But they have no engineering and no growth path to it. And none of these companies were in the Western Hemisphere. They were all confined. And I learned that that's because these machines do require parts, supplies, support, training, everything that a customer would normally want in a commercial product. I don't care whether it's an oven or refrigerator or a car or a wall painting machine. You want to be able to know that you can have this serviced and know how to use it. And so I made the commitment to do that. I invested very heavily in the company. I actually co-own 3 patents with the Chinese manufacturer, which is very unusual for an American company to actually co-own patents with a Chinese company. But it speaks to the relationship I have with them, which is now about 3 to 4 years old. We've scaled our company to starting out. Now, I will backtrack a minute. I'm not always the smartest kid in the block. I found this all in 2019 when I decided to invest in it and create a business around it. It was 2019 in November. I made a large investment and purchased a bunch of machines and created my business here in Wilmington, North Carolina, the wall printer, or Wall Printing USA as we're called. And I got my first shipment of machines. And then, as we all know, that was November of 2019. And in January of 2020, basically the world stopped because of COVID. And so here I was with a product that nobody's ever seen, nobody's ever heard about, and I've got lots of them, and I've got nobody who knows what they're doing, and we can't go to people's homes, and trade shows had stopped, and everything else in the world of business had basically been put on hold.
Yeah.
And so, but I was all in and I was committed. And when I do get committed to something, I stick with it and see what I can do with it, because I do have a level of confidence that for the reason that I went into it originally, that somebody else might find this interesting as well as I did. So I spent the first 10 months of 2020, while nobody was doing anything except working remotely and figuring out what do they want to do with their lives, to take advantage of that situation. Again, no disrespect to the lives lost and continue to be lost because of this pandemic, a tragedy by, in no uncertain terms. But for me, it turned out to be a time when I committed to this business. I committed to making people aware of what it was. I used social media to start finding out who might our customers be, who might want this, who does it resonate with, learning how people make money doing it by not only researching the 500 or so wall printers that existed in Southeast Asia, Europe, and the Middle East before I came onto the map, but did all this homework. And I built a team. When people were laying people off because of COVID, I was adding headcount, my technical support team, my marketing team, my sales team, and creating the business. And so knowing or hoping that the world would lighten up one day soon. And sure enough, around August of 2020, after exposing what wall printing is to about 2 to 3 million people, which is only the tip of the iceberg. The US has 300 million people, but our social media efforts got about 3 million exposures. But that was enough for us to get the feedback we wanted on, is this of interest to people? And sure enough, we started selling exclusive territories and printers to people. And now fast forward to today, we have 100 businesses we put into place in about 80 in the United States, 10 in Canada, 10 in South America. And we continue to scale with about 1 to 2 new businesses being created every week. And so I'm very proud of the team that we have, that whole period of time, which still goes on with people trying to rethink their lives. And, do they want to be in business? Do they want to continue to work for somebody? Our customers fall into several buckets: existing businesses, startups, people who are just looking for something innovative, people in the arts business, photographers, painters, but people who are just looking for something innovative.
All right. Wow. I mean, what a story and what a ride, especially through COVID. I mean, I think we can all relate. I mean, we'll always be able to think back. What were you doing, March of 2020? And for you, having this huge investment and now these plans and to have the world shut down. I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs were wondering. I know I was wondering and starting to make some interesting backup plans if things were to not go the way that we had hoped. But incredible at the same time to hear how you pressed in, especially during that time.
Well, the sad part, of course, is I couldn't qualify for any PPP money that was out there for businesses because I was adding headcount, not laying anybody off.
Which is, a little bit backwards, but that's government for you, I guess, I want to know in that, I mean, I'm sure there was plenty, you've actually already shared several, but I want to know if you can think back to that time early on, that first year, maybe, what was a good decision that you made that you could clearly communicate to us where it's like, okay, we can take that away, maybe go implement that in our business?
Well, first and foremost, and this is really not only to my current business, but really anything that anybody does. I don't care if you're creating a product, you're creating an app, you have a service or a product that you think has value and will resonate with people, and you can create a business around it. It has to be a solution to a problem. You can't go trying to find a problem or create a problem and then have a product satisfy that. There has to be an existing problem that you see or a gap in the market that you fit. So, in the early going, I had to look at, well, how are people putting artwork on walls specifically today? Are they doing it with vinyl stickers? Are they doing it with professional paintings from artists? Are they just getting framed posters? What are they putting on their walls? For businesses, is a restaurant putting its text menu because they're painting over a stencil or something? Or they have somebody hand drawing on the glass window of their restaurant. What are they doing to put signage and artwork onto walls? So again, looking at what the options are, and then of course you have all the the existing types of businesses in almost any field, whether it be plumbers or pest control or pizza places or chicken, restaurants. There's dozens of similar ones. And ultimately, if you could provide a product and develop the relationships that make you a trusted resource to somebody, you can have a business, plain and simple. You can create something that people will want and trust you to deliver. And so that was, the pain point, of course, was creating a market where one didn't exist for this particular one. If you're going to open up a food service market, you see hamburger places and pizza places and chicken places, you kind of know there's already a market for this. We really had no idea there was a market for this, except for looking at what the alternatives are for what people to do. Right. And for me, it seemed like people do look for choices. And so, the one hurdle that I knew I had to make was, will people accept the fact that this is another way to put art on walls and have somebody come to their home or business or school or medical office or event and actually print on the wall. Now, of course, our wall painting machines can print on canvas or paper or metal, tiles, whatever. And many of our customers will do just that. They'll take the machines and just print on something and deliver that to somebody else.
Sure.
And they've made good livings doing just that. But ideally, these are machines that should actually travel to the site and print directly to the wall, whether it be indoors or outdoors. So again, back to your question, that the hurdle was just trying to identify the people who this would resonate with.
Yeah, 100%. And I think even you can, so dwindling it all the way down to a super easy business like plumbing, like you said. Okay, well, so there's people out there today that have plumbing in their houses, and eventually they're going to need a repair or something done or a new water heater or whatever the need is. But I think your point in all of that is, no matter the simplicity of something that already quote unquote exists or something that was brand new for you, if you can identify what the need is, then you can press into speaking to that person directly. And whether you're a plumber or whether you're a wall art guy.
Absolutely. And again, to that point, what I say to the people who are looking at this as a potential business for themselves and looking to purchase a wall or floor printing machine, because we also have a floor printing machine that prints on floors and can put artwork like logos on foyers and offices or whatever, or homes. But when they're looking at this, one of the things I always mention is there's no lacking walls. So, there's plenty of walls out there, indoors, outdoors, whatever. So it's not a question of finding customers who want to put something on their walls. It's just a question of articulating the fact that this is a solution to putting something on a wall, and one that may be desirable.
Yeah, that's good perspective. And it's also interesting too, because you particularly aren't in the business of selling the wall art, but you're teaching them how to sell the wall art. Obviously you're selling the machine, but it all has to go into one. It's like my franchises, the corporate headquarters can't not sell fruit baskets, even though we're the ones producing them at the franchise level and pushing them out.
Exactly.
I want to flip the coin on you, Paul, and I want you to tell me about a bad decision, something that didn't go well. And maybe you learn from it, but what can we learn from what your mistake?
Well, bad decisions I've been very fortunate in that I've had good partnerships and good relationships with people. And I think ultimately that's what not only life, but business is all about, is in the relationships that you build and form. Every once in a while, an opportunity will come up and you'll have a gap in your own personal, either skill sets, finances, resources that warrant bringing in somebody and not doing either the right homework on the people or the environment or the market. That could create a negative experience, whether it be in the actual running or foundation of a business or the potential success of a business. The worst decision I ever made, I think, in business was after 12 years of success in a restaurant in New York. I had a very successful restaurant that I built with a partner who became a best friend, or maybe was a best friend, then became a partner. I forget which way these things go often, but we had a very successful restaurant in New York, and he was a restaurant guy. I was kind of the back office guy.
Sure.
And so even though I get into things with a passion, and so I learned how to cook and tend bar and wash dishes and everything else, because I never want people to know something I don't know, even though that may not be my day job. But still, I love the business. We did very well. It grew, but I got to the point that he was really running it and should have been running it. And so I was looking for something else to do. And so, and basically I enjoyed playing tennis, and my parents moved to Florida. So from New York, and I followed them and decided to move to Florida and play tennis all the time. And this was when I was in my 30s. And that was one of my first retirement phases. But then I said, well, what am I going to do now that I'm here besides play tennis? So I said, my most successful experience up to that point was this restaurant. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and establish another restaurant, copying my success from New York. Well, nothing could have been further from the truth. I didn't research the market very well. What I made in 12 years in New York, I lost in 1 year in Florida. And that was a combination of not only bad market research, but also bad partnerships that I formed down there that knew of my restaurant in New York, kind of invested with me, but had another agenda that I was not aware of, that failure was actually an option that they liked as opposed to something that I didn't. And I'm not going to go into the explanation of finances that these people had in mind, but nevertheless, it was a loss for me, not for the partnerships, but nevertheless, it was a bad experience. And that was probably the worst decision I ever made, was to just look at the success of one thing and think it could easily translate somewhere else. And that wasn't the case at all.
Yeah, no, that's so good. There's a lot of times I think where we build up a little arrogance, a little ego, and we get ahead of ourselves. But true to any laws of nature, if you will, we get quickly humbled in those moments, and we get brought back to reality.
Yeah, that's the truth. And again, when people ask me, the same question you just did, Chaz, what was maybe, a bad decision or a bad experience, I don't really even look at that as a failure. I never use that word. I look at it as a learning experience. And basically, you take away from anything, positive or negative results, and see how you can build upon that and learn from it. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. The old saying, it's not how many times you fall down, it's how many you get up. And right. So, you have to move forward. I don't think there's any alternative. One of the things I think I'm very good at, which I actually like, and other people kind of comment that about me, is that I don't dwell, whether success or failure. I don't look back. When I've made the decision to move on, I do just that. And I put everything that I have, commitment-wise, emotion, finance, passion, whatever, into whatever I see now is my next step. And the only thing I look back on are those learning experiences that hopefully will be integrated into a better experience moving forward. Yeah,
exactly. I think that we all know these things, but to hear somebody with your experience say them, it's like, okay, this is good. This is good for me to have some poise along the way. I want to switch over to our speed round. My first question to you in our speed round is about tracking. Lots of things to track in a business, especially a brand new international, technology business. But if you could only pick one thing to track, what would you track?
Customer acquisition. We use social media for the most part, besides our website and the SEO that goes along with that. But the analytics that you track in terms of who's responding to our promotion, our videos, our postings, so that we can move closer to learning who the highest value customer might be for us. Yeah. And that's the most important thing for us to track.
Yeah. And obviously there's layers and layers in that, but my guess would be, and maybe you can just confirm, especially with a new product, or maybe like it's not a new product, not a new lane. People are putting things on their walls. To your point, you just had to basically find the people who would agree that this was a good solution. And so that's taken time. It's taken research. It's taken testing. It's taken a lot of money. Would you add anything to that? Or the person listening right now, basically I'm trying to give them the solution of, okay, so if they're going to do what you've done, does it take anything else outside of those things?
Well, it takes risk tolerance. When you're dealing with something new, specifically like the wall printer, it takes somebody to raise their hand. And here's something else I say to people. Let's say you were a prospect who saw one of our ads on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or something, and you contacted us and you want to learn more about it. We get 150 inquiries every day. And through the good work that my team is doing, 140 of those 150 see that it's not your $100 desktop printer that they're asking about, and they quickly disappear when they find out it's a $30,000 machine. Now, to that point, though, a subset of those 140 say, not interested in this as a business or an investment, but hey, I've got a wall I'd like something printed on. So we take that and we put that into our CRM, our database, so that when we do have a wall printing business established in an area, we pass those inquiries on to them. But 10 out of those 150 are people who aren't scared off by the cost and want to learn more. And then when we speak to about 50 to 75 of those people, one will become a customer. And so, going through that due diligence process on their end and learning, is this the right business for me? Is this the right investment? But one of the things I say to them, let's put that hat on you, that you are somebody who just inquired. I say, look, here you are in Kansas City, Missouri. And I apologize if I never pronounced Missouri correctly.
Sounds right.
But
over here they say Missouri, but
Missouri,
you're saying it right.
I'll try. And so I say, the good news is you're going to be the first one in Kansas City to be a wall printer. The bad news is you're going to be the first one in Kansas City to be a wall printer. You have to introduce this to your market. You have to tell people what it is and what the value is. And so these are the hurdles that our customers need to overcome or be willing to be passionate about, like I was, to introduce this to people. I'm introducing the business opportunity. They're introducing the service of putting art on walls. And so either way, it's a new way to do something. And that has to be communicated, and people have to embrace that and understand that and go through those normal aspects of business, which is to communicate what it is you have, what is it going to do for your customer, and where is the value in it.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Okay. What book would you recommend after all these years of business for a small, maybe business owner that hasn't hit the 7-figure mark yet?
So I'm not an avid reader anymore. Those days were past in college. People are throwing, and I've got a bookshelf behind me that has lots of books about growth in business and scale. And I'm not going to say there's not value. There is. For me, though, I can answer that question very easily. The most important book I've ever read, as it relates to my personal and business path, has been Everything I Ever Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. It's a small book, but it teaches you the important things in relationships, playing nice with others, doing good, giving back, taking a nap every day. Just do unto others as others would do unto you. That's a basic tenet of the book. Everything I Ever Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. It has carried me the ups and the downs. And ultimately because of the relationships I've been fortunate enough to build. I have relationships that date back the full 71 years of my life. There's one gentleman I talk with every day and have for 71 years that we grew up together. And then I've got another core group from my college days of about 8 couples, and we get together every now and then, either 2, 4 at a time or all 10 of us at a time. And these are the relationships that have carried me through low points, high points, need of finances, giving other people help when they've needed it, whether it be emotional or financial. And so the core of it is all about relationships and the way you treat people. And if you can do that and sleep well at night. And again, as far as a book goes, I'm not really into the how-tos.
Yeah.
I'm more of just do it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, we'll put that in the show notes for the listener, but yeah, you're right. A lot of simple concepts, a lot of things that are timeless, a lot of things of just the laws of success. And we realize when we read books like that, we're like, oh yeah, I did learn that in kindergarten or whatever the point is being made, but we just forget, or we forget to weave them in and out of the daily that we're going through, whether that be in business or, like you said, your personal life as a husband or as a parent or as a business partner, whatever it is. What do you think about intentionally? We talked about a lot about relationships, but what do you think about intentionally networking or masterminding with other business owners?
So I'm in favor of that. I do quite a bit. As I mentioned earlier, I do give back. I sit on the advisory board of the university here, which is part of the University of North Carolina system here in Wilmington. And I sit on the advisory board of the Cameron School of Business and their School of Entrepreneurship. And they have a Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship that embraces the community as well as the school in terms of offering services of people who have experience in different areas. It might be financial, it might be legal, it might be marketing, it might be sales, those last two being the hats I wear best. But it invites people to come in. It does a lot of the kind of startup culture, how-to sessions and events that people look to explore when they're thinking of a business or creating an idea or a product or a service and want to know how to go from A to Z or even A to B and just how to get going. And so I enjoy that. Number one, it keeps me very fresh by hearing other people's creative ideas and allowing me the opportunity to share my experience and if it helps them along the way or just makes a connection for them, because after 70 years, you get to know a lot of people. And so, if somebody needs some help with a patent, I know a patent lawyer. If they need some help with building a website, I know somebody who does that. What's the expression? We've got an app for that. I usually have people for almost anything. And so, so I like giving back. I think networking, to the point of your question, is critical to success. Nobody is an island. There are going to be other resources that you need, or even, and most people, myself included, don't know what they don't know. So it's nice to be in situations and put yourself in situations where you network with people, whether it be something at a local bar, whether it be a meetup, that people, I know a lot of things shut down through the couple of years of COVID, where people weren't going out to actually be around and everything went to this Zoom environment. But even that is very useful and very powerful to connect people and connect ideas. Yeah. And so people should do that. I make myself available through LinkedIn. This is not an advertisement for LinkedIn, or maybe it is, but LinkedIn, I see it as a professional network that if people use it in that way and not like a Facebook or an Instagram, but use it to actually make connections and look for assistance where they need it, it could be a very useful tool. So I'm out there. If anybody wanted to learn more about me beyond this conversation or wanted to connect with me, I invite that. Just, a quick search for Paul Barron. I'm sure you'll find that.
Yeah, we'll put your profile in the show notes as well, so that way they can easily connect with you. Yeah. Paul, I got one last question here for you. Super curious about your answer. If you had a chance to whisper in the younger Paul's ear, what would you say?
If you love what you're doing, just go for it. That's it. No words of caution. No think twice about doing this kind of thing. If it was my father whispering in my ear, he'd have said, "What are you, crazy? Go into the Navy. Be a school teacher," which I was for the first 3 years of my career after college. Stick with the civil service or something that'll give you a nice secure path and a pension possibly. We've learned over the years that there is no security. So that's why I say, do what you love doing, live where you want to live and do what you love to do. Again, I look, old sayings or trite phrases, which they might very well be, but I find a lot of truth in, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. And I've always felt that way. Not everything is a success, but I've made my own bed and I've got to sleep in it. And more often than not, I sleep very well.
Yeah, no, that's good. Great perspective. Words of wisdom for sure. Other than LinkedIn, would you like to share your website? Would you like to share some information if someone's interested in buying the printer, they want to get some wall art? How can they find you?
Yeah, this was not going to be a sales pitch, but by all means, if anybody wants to learn more about what I'm doing, and even if not for them doing this, but just for seeing what the opportunities and possibilities are for something brand new, it's a really cool machine. 15 seconds on our website, thewallprinter.com. That's thewallprinter.com. 15 seconds on the website and watching a video tells you everything you need to know about what the machines are and what they do. But certainly there is a contact page if you actually want to learn more about it and talk to us about this. Go that route. If you want to just talk to me, go the LinkedIn route.
That's great. Well, Paul, you've been absolutely sensational. Thank you for your just years of commitment to you, your family, your dreams. And of course, sharing, with us. I think that it's just incredible that someone of your caliber would take a little bit of time and share. And it's just incredible.
You're teasing me now, and that's. But thank you.
Yes.
I enjoy talking to you, and if anybody got anything out of this, then kudos to them and to you.
We've done our job. That's right. Okay. Exactly. Well, Paul, blessings to you, your family, and of course, the Wall Printer as a business. We just appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Gathering the Kings. We hope you got a ton of value today and learned a thing or two about taking your business to 7 figures and beyond. If you desire more and want a community around you to help you get there, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. That's gatheringthekings.com. And I want you to apply for our next Becoming a King 90-day intensive. We are extremely exclusive by nature as a group, What that means is that we're really wanting only the entrepreneurs who take their business and targets super serious to apply. So if that's you, you think you got what it takes to level up your business, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com and apply. And we will see you on the other side.